Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Homecoming Season 2, Episode 1. It is called People. So, full spoilers for the episode. So this is definitely a continuation of the story, even though we're not bringing back a lot of the characters. We are bringing back one key one at least. But this is, if you watch Homecoming on Amazon Prime, it was the Sam Esmail directed show, 10 episodes, about 30 minutes each, give or take. And about this drug that would have vets forget what happened to them and forget their pain and their PTSD, whatever else, so they could be shipped back off to go and fight again because they wouldn't remember all the trauma they went through. And we do have a vet main character, and we start this story. I think the first thing I'd say about this season from this first episode is that it feels a lot more straightforward in how it's been told, because it's just, our main character Jackie, played by Janelle Monáe, wakes up in a boat. She has no idea why she's there. She can't remember her name, where she's from, anything like that. And this first episode is her running into a cop, being taken to the hospital, and then sort of going on the run because the doctor thinks she's a meth addict or something like that. And looking
heroin.
Heroin, there you go. And looking for answers, looking for clues, finding this motel room. And I basically just described the entire journey of the episode, but the details, obviously. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's very just sort of linear and straightforward, and outside of one little scene at the end that cuts to like maybe the greater scheme of things going on, whereas season one there was a lot of there was two timelines. I mean, not only that, there was two aspect ratios, but I'm forgetting the aspect ratios. There was
just the timelines, the narrative structure. This is a lot more simplistic. It's less interesting, I think, because of that. I think because it is such a simple story, really at its core. The direction and narrative structure really made it stand out beyond that. This feels lacking that a little bit.
Yeah, there's moments where you can feel them doing the Esmail thing. The ending, especially, the way the credits came up, they were definitely just doing what happened last season.
That was the first time where I really felt like, oh, this is Homecoming.
There was a couple of moments early on where the camera would pan to like the left or right to reveal something, or show like her looking down like the road or something. There was little touches here or there that felt like they were going for a directorial style similar to season one, but it was kind of like dispersed throughout rather than consistently feeling that way. It is a very straightforward story though in comparison, and obviously it's hinting at these reveals and things. It's a 7-episode season as well, we should mention that. It's not 10 like season one, which puts it around 3.5 hours long, so it is kind of like just a long movie at this point, at that length.
Yeah, I remember we felt that about by the end of the first season. We felt like, no, this was kind of just a longer movie.
Yeah, season one, like, even though I like season one and the way it was presented, you could have sort of cut that into about a 2.5 hour movie if you really wanted to, and it would have worked relatively well. This, even more so because of the length, it seems to be kind of that way.
And I imagine with it being, at least right now, so straightforward in comparison, would be even easier to cut into one thing.
Yeah, I think, because even though I love season one, sometimes the chapters did feel a little bit short, and I'm like, oh, I didn't get like as much, maybe enough of a fix that I expect of a TV show. I think this, I kind of felt that as well, where I kind of feel like I got half of an episode, even though it does end with kind of like, oh, as a tease for all these other things going on.
Yeah, season one was really masterful at having that ending moment that kind of helped negate a lot of that feeling. The ending moment is good, but I don't think it was quite on the level of making up for the lack of what wasn't there in the episode.
Yeah, I think this one comparatively tries to do things a little bit more in a traditional sense, where we're getting to know the character and the character that's helping her in the episode. Unfortunately, I don't think, at least so far, the character herself is that interesting.
The problem is she's entirely a blank slate by design, as that's kind of the point right now. Is she knows nothing about herself. The problem is that gives us nothing to know about her to make her interesting for us.
Well, the thing is that I feel like what they actually tease at the end of the episode, the idea that she was, because essentially, I'll just explain what happens here at the end, is that when they get back to the motel, because she wakes up in the boat, she sees a guy in the distance, which might be Walter from season one. It's kind of hard to tell because he's so far away, but it looks like it could be him. He's similar build, so on, and just from, I want to say I saw an image, like a promo image, where he's got his hair's a bit longer and he's got a beard, but I mean that might just be me pulling that from out my ass. But anyway, but he's off in the distance, so it could be Walter, it might not be. But someone mysterious, and that's who she's looking for, and it leads her to this diner based on a napkin she has, and that leads to this motel room. And she finds that all throughout the episode, the old guy from the hospital who's been helping her, who's kind of this old guy who's always talking about how the government and the big companies put the man down, put us down, the common people, and yeah, and then he's a scumbag who, once he finds that she's got some money stashed in this motel room, whacks her over the head and leaves her on her own. But the big thing we find out is that we see this photo, she's in this elite squad of soldiers, and there's like the other faces have all been crossed out as if they've been wiped out one by one. And then the big thing is that her Air Force tattoo that she has isn't real. She realizes she can wipe it off. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so what's going on here? There's like a fake story almost. So whether or not, so even before the fake tattoo thing, I was thinking, you know what? The idea that someone's used this drug to erase some dodgy like Black Ops team that was doing missions that no one wants anyone to know about is kind of interesting, and it's an expansion upon what was built in season 1, where it's a new application of it, right? It's not just, oh, we can use the same soldiers again as disposable units. This is like more secretive. There's more.
It's bugging me because I've seen this story somewhere, and at first I was thinking, was this just in the first season of Homecoming? And I don't think it was. But the idea of the I know what it was. God damn it! I know where I'm going. I've seen this before recently.
Yeah, it's Bloodshot.
It's Bloodshot. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay.
So, I actually like that idea, but Bloodshot's a goofy action movie. Whereas
it is. I'm just like in my head the whole time. I've seen this recently, and it was bugging me.
And because in Bloodshot he's got nanites that rebuild him because it's over the top and silly.
Yeah.
Whereas a more grounded version of that idea, because that was the most interesting thing about Bloodshot, and I feel like here in the context of Homecoming, this is a really cool idea. But even furthermore, the idea that it's not even real and that this backstory may actually be completely fake, and then in which case, what's the purpose of it? Why does someone want? Has she been set up for something?
Is she doing it to herself? Is she the one taking out the other people and wiping her own memory so that she can't? There's no evidence for her. Like she can't give anything away.
Or is it? And I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to spoil the end of the movie. But is there more of a Memento-esque thing to this going on with her? And I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to spoil the movie. But like, there's a lot of potential here in the concept. The only problem is that I found a lot of the episode before then to be just kind of okay.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit dull. Not really.
It's not bad. I think it's lacking the stellar direction that the first one had, where every tiny moment you was on the edge of your seat because it was just expertly crafted.
The use of music wasn't as good, but I was still kind of enjoying the use of like some music here. They had Heart Alone playing at the karaoke bar, and then there was like another song after that. They had some songs kind of coming in here or there.
Yeah, there was a lot of source music in the first season.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as distinct because it was really distinct in the first season how they would use like certain tracks from other movies, for example, and it felt really unique, and it was
because if I recall, the first season didn't have a original score at all. It was all just pulled tracks from various things, and it worked really well.
And it was really odd how I started noticing some of them, like because there was one that I didn't quite get at first, and I realized, wait, is that Body Double? Am I hearing the main tune from Body Double? And then later on, one more well-known one was The Thing. I was like, wait, that's The Thing music. This is music from The Thing. It's kind of a weird experience because you're so used to that not happening. Because usually, if a show or a movie uses a source bit of music, it's always a song. It's always a band.
The only time you hear music like those iconic themes from other movies being used is if they're doing some sort of reference or parody.
Yeah, or they'd watch the scenes literally on a TV screen or something in the thing.
Sure, yeah.
Because Scream did that with the Halloween music where he's looking through the house at the end, but because Halloween's playing on the TV, you can hear the din, 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 din as he's going through this.
You can get away with it that way.
Yeah. The only other example I can think of, bizarrely, is Matthew Vaughn's films. Kick-Ass especially does a lot of it. In fact, Kick-Ass goes even further and actually does its own versions of other movies' music, which is really weird. Like
it's pretty unique, yeah.
It takes the Adagio thing from Sunshine and not only uses that on its own, but does like little like motifs from it in other tracks, and I'm like, this is so weird. You built like a concoction of a soundtrack from other movie music.
It's like a proper remix album, essentially.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way of doing it. But so there's this just uses some songs, and it's so far it's fine.
And the songs they were fine. They never felt out of place or anything like that. But it didn't.
No,
it didn't have
cool.
the same atmosphere or mood that using these striking pieces did in the first season.
Yeah, and we're teasing, of course, Chris Cooper is kind of the head of the company, and it seems like they're actually selling this drug now. It's went to mass market, and people can, because we see a billboard at one point, and people can buy it. They're like, oh, that pain you're feeling, get over it. I that's literally what the billboard says. It says, get over it.
Yeah.
And this is what you sell the drug for. So really interesting, which actually does beg the question that, this doctor who sees the wound in her arm and sort of assumes that she's a drug user, and in terms of heroin, I did think though that because we see the billboard, like, wouldn't doctors be more aware of what memory loss might be more common now because of this drug being like in the world? Like,
yeah, I imagine, especially if you take an overdose of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, then maybe this is what happens. It completely wipes you blank. So maybe that would have been a known side effect. So knowing that this is a thing, that people can buy, she comes in claiming to have no memory. She's got marks that indicate drug use. Maybe they would have considered this a possibility. Whereas the doctor just outright thinks she's lying about the memory loss, and it's all just a ruse.
Yeah. So that felt a bit weird to me. Like, unless the drug is just a new, like, literally just came out, like it's brand new, and maybe it's not being considered yet. But I felt like he maybe should have like thought of that as a possibility. The memory loss might be more of a common thing because of this drug. But I mean, obviously, one of the things about Homecoming was discovering the world and the mythology around everything. And it's the sort of thing where you can easily take the premise of Homecoming in the sense of what the bad guys are doing, in terms of what they're doing with this drug and what the plot of season 1 was. But it told it in such an interesting way that sort of gave you little pieces here or there that it felt so captivating and mysterious, where you can easily see like a movie doing the same general plot, and it's just like a Steven Seagal movie where it sets up what the bad guys are doing in the first 10 minutes, and then
it will be a B-tier thriller.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah, it was the skill of the direction and the techniques that made it fascinating. And this isn't too bad so far. It's just it's so far it's lacking that spark, that creative spark that made season 1 so captivating. So it's in a really weird place.
Yeah, especially if like, I feel like we spent a lot of season 1 talking about the direction of how it revealed these moments and the way that the narrative structure gave us a lot of meat to actually talk about, even though there wasn't that much in each episode. Whereas I don't know how much of that there is here. It's so straightforward that episode by episode, because they're so short, I don't know how much we have to talk about consistently.
Yeah, we talked a lot about the concepts that's interesting at the end, and maybe once they start going into them deeper, maybe there will be more to talk about there. Maybe we'll see more of these hints and more of what's actually going on. It's also worth mentioning at the end of the episode we do see Chris Cooper at the farm with this where they grow this plant that gives this drug its main ingredient. It looks like they're dying. The crops seem to be dying, and he doesn't look very pleased about it. So we're definitely going to see more of that side of things, I expect. As for reviewing the rest of this, I'm not sure like if it works episode to episode. I mean, there's an argument to be said to just go and watch the rest of it, because it's only 6 half-hour episodes. You come back and just do a season thing, maybe, but episode to episode feels like a tougher idea for this one at this point.
It does, and like I say, I think that was the difference in the first season. There was so much technical craft that we were breaking down, whereas I don't feel like we've got that to talk about here, and it's still bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, it is worth mentioning that season 1, outside of the tease, sort of the mid-credit scene that sort of teased more stuff in the world as at large, the story was perfectly finished. Like, our 2 characters that we were following, their stories were... I mean, we're bringing one of them back, which I'm a little worried about, to be honest. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with them. But
yeah.
The story was perfectly finished and, like, tied up in a bow, so it is kind of easy to recommend just not watching the rest of this. It
is, and it's not that this is bad, but maybe you just don't need it. Also, I'm a little concerned in the sense that it seems to be focusing a lot on Geist and the mystery of what they're doing, right? That thriller angle. Whereas the first one was a lot about our 2 characters' relationship. More, and that was the focus, and the conspiracy was actually the backdrop to a lot of it, and was just driving forward their relationship.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the writing team also changed, right, between seasons?
I'm not entirely sure, but that sounds vaguely familiar, like it could have been something I read.
Yeah. So I'm, yeah.
That'd be very easy to check though on IMDb, because I'm assuming they're gonna tell us the writers.
I mean, tell me if Mika Bloomberg was involved in season 1, because that's who wrote this episode.
I will go back and check season 1.
Yes. Is there a Mika Bloomberg listed in the writers?
Yeah.
There is? Okay. All right. Because I was going to say that I would think that maybe there is a different writing team based on the focus feeling so different. And maybe this is just them trying something else, which is fair. But there was a worry when we heard about season 2 that taking away the director, who is kind of what made it what it was in a lot of ways for us, might make the show itself suffer. So
yeah, and we said a lot that, okay, maybe you bring in a different director and go, okay, no, this is their unique style on this, and I feel like this suffers from just trying to do, okay, this was Esmail's thing, will imitate some elements of it, but not as good and not as consistently.
I almost feel like, it would have been a better choice for another director to come in and do something completely different that was their own thing. Like, take the world and just, okay, so Esmail's thing was doing like a sort of almost Brian De Palma-esque thriller that was told out of order. So how about you come in and do, I don't know, like, maybe something that's more of a bottle story even. Like, what if instead of doing what season 1 did, you did something where it was just characters in like one building the entire season, try to figure out why they can't remember stuff or something. You know, do your own spin on it, your own like.
Yeah,
there you go.
I was gonna say, I get like, but if the direction, if it had been completely different, like a really strong direction, but like completely different, that could have worked so much better. Because here I'm just going, okay, you're just trying to follow the format that Esmail established, but it's not as well done.
How about found footage? Do a found footage season?
Honestly, I'm not really a huge fan of found footage as a rule. There's exceptions, don't get me wrong, but that would have been more unique, right? In the sense that, okay, there's no danger of, because we spent a lot of this comparing how, well, season 1 did all this with the music, season 1 did all this with the narrative. There'd be none of that, because it'd be like, no, this is so different, it's just doing its own thing. This
conversation is a lot like when we talk about a director comes out to do episode 1, and then the rest of the show tries to mimic what that director set up, except in this case it was a whole season. The director, Sam Esmail came in, directed a whole season, and season 2 is doing, at least so far, feels like a pale imitation of that side of things. Yeah. And the story so far feels not as captivating. However, I'm not sure how quickly we were captivated by the story itself. I think the technical qualities in season 1 is over first, and then the story got better as the more we delved into it.
I'm confident that is the case. Because at first we were like, okay, but it was direction that made us stick around because.
But it's worth mentioning though that when we got to the end of the show, we were heavily invested in those two characters, and their ending did have a lot of impact. So
absolutely, it did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so arguably that there's a reason to continue, but I feel like we're both sitting here feeling that we don't really want to.
That's the thing. It's like I don't mind watching it. I don't feel like it's going to be bad, but I'm concerned that I'll watch the second one and feel like I'm going to struggle to talk for more than 10 minutes about this.
I mean, yeah, maybe 10 minutes is fine. I don't know. I'll tell you what, we'll put this out there. As of right now, I don't think we will do more, but if there's an outcry of tons of people wanting us to talk about more, it's also not a hard thing to squeeze in as a half-hour episode. So, if you really care, let yourself be known. If there's enough people who want us to do it, then we'll do it. But I feel like we're both kind of feeling like we're not sure if there'll be enough meat to really talk about. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So that is Homecoming, because most of this discussion, I mean, we're hitting about 20 minutes here, but most of this discussion has been about comparing to season 1, and that will not be a factor episode to episode after this. That is just that, okay, here's what's different because this is the first time we're back.
Yeah, we can't do that every episode.
Yeah, the actual discussion of the plot and the characters of the show, I think, was wrapped up in about 10 minutes or less. So
I feel like we probably spent about 5 minutes dedicated to the actual plot and characters.
Yeah. So anyway, that is episode 1 of Homecoming season 2. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps us out a lot. YouTube algorithm likes the likes and promotes things out based on those likes and based on comments, so please do. do all that stuff. You can, of course, support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support us with some monies, and you can get some bonuses for as little as the $1 per month, and that obviously helps out a huge ton as well. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?